Okay. Hey, everybody. What's up? Welcome to another edition of Jiu-Jitsu Couples Therapy. Susan, what are we talking about today?
Welcome, everyone. Today we are going to talk about kids in jiu-jitsu. Is putting your kid in jiu-jitsu something that's going to help them with self-defense, or is it going to be something that helps them learn how to fight and puts them in a position to be a bully on the playground? And then we're also going to talk about coaches who maybe get some of their self-identity as a coach in the performance of their students. So how do the students do at tournaments? How do the students do at maybe local open mats? And really tying themselves up on, am I a good coach, is only reflected in how my students do.
That's right. But first, remember that in this podcast, we talk about training together as a couple, life as a jiu-jitsu athlete, keeping the proper mindset and perspective in training, and so much more.
We don't go into move sets and we don't really dissect matches or talk about drama in the greater jiu-jitsu world, although we do reserve the right to talk about those things.
That's right.
Once in a while, but
That's
it's
right.
not primarily what
That's right. Okay. So, uh, um, will my child learning jiu-jitsu, is that good for self-defense? Then, if them learning how to fight, is that going to make them more prone to being a bully on the playground?
I'm going to just put this caveat out here that it doesn't have to be just BJJ. I think that jujitsu is one of the most beneficial martial arts for self-defense because you really learn what to do when people put their hands on you, right? And so it's been hailed as the best martial art for self-defense. But I think in terms of kids and training in any sort of combat sport, I think that it can go to other combat sports as well. So just, I guess that this argument can be made no matter what.
So you're saying that a universal, whether we're talking about TKD or we're talking about wrestling,
Or just general combatives training or whatever.
that's all good for self-defense?
What I'm saying is, I think that the angle that I'm coming in at is that the actual skills that these kids are learning, the more important skills to ensure that your kid is working on their self-defense and not being a bully,
let's separate them,
Okay.
because you're kind of tying them in together. Let's separate them. First question: will jiu-jitsu teach my child self-defense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But it really is tied on the instruction.
Sure.
What are the instructors teaching? Are they teaching kids how to get out when somebody's sitting on top of them and pinning their hands to the ground? Like this?
Yeah, the big brother.
Right, exactly, the big brother. And then you do the big brother defense. Is it teaching kids what to do if somebody gets them in a headlock? Or is it teaching kids how to do an omoplata from full guard?
Right.
Which I think is, a perfectly obviously legit thing to learn in sport jujitsu, but not the most practical probably for self-defense.
I would agree with that. I've come full circle in my view of this, having, been a student before our kids were really old enough to take jiu-jitsu, watching them start at 3 years old. Our kids started when they were 3. Um, and watching them progress, not only through jiu-jitsu, but other martial arts as well. And I'm thinking to myself, this is going to help them be, anti-bullying, have self-defense, be safe on the playground, and all this. And then one day my oldest comes home and said, 3 kids were just kicking me on the playground. And I'm like, why didn't you single leg them? Like, and so then at this point we owned a gym, and I was like, okay, we need to rethink how we're teaching kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to get into like the Gracie University thing. Don't judge me, okay? Like,
Don't touch me.
I started to get into the Gracie University, the anti-bullying, and I think Tom DeBlas had another thing like that as well. So I tried to reach out and grab some of the stuff. These guys are obviously way more knowledgeable than I was. I was probably still a purple belt at that point. And so we started to change our program. Yes, we did sports jiu-jitsu. This is closed guard. This is an arm bar from closed guard. But we started to focus less on submissions. There was a point where we basically, besides arm bars
Submissions.
and triangles, we kind of stopped teaching submissions at all.
Yeah.
Because, and this is where, is self-defense good? Is this jiu-jitsu good for self-defense for a child? My answer is no, that it's not. It's going to teach your kid other things, and we can get into that. But no, it's not. Because they're children. And yes, maybe when they're teenagers, when they get to high school, this stuff will then mature in them. But for a 9-year-old is still going to get his ass beat on the playground by a big 11-year-old. That's just going to happen. I don't care if his triangle technique is perfect. It's just going to happen. Maybe he can be defensive, maybe. But our one kid came home, 3 people kicked me. They pulled my jacket over their head, tripped me, and just started kicking me. There's no move in jiu-jitsu that takes care of 3 people.
Yeah.
And if there is, it's never been taught to me. And I certainly have never taught it to a child.
Yeah. I still stand by it. It absolutely can teach self-defense, but I also think that it really depends on what you're teaching the kids. And obviously it's not going to help for everything. It's not going to help for somebody pulling your jacket over your head so you can't see and then pushing down on the ground. But you if you are down on the ground, now if you have the awareness of, I can move my legs, I know how to get onto my side, and I know how to stand back up and all of this stuff, I think that it can help. Now, I think that so much of it comes with the instruction. I mean, we used to, and maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead, but when we had kids that would train with us, and the kids decide, oh yeah, I want to be here, I want to be here. When we gave them their gi, we were a traditional, and everybody had a uniform. And when we gave the kids their uniform and their belt, we would tell them, number one, this belt, this is your jujitsu power. We're going to teach you things in here that can really hurt other people. So you have to promise me that you will only use your superpowers for good. And we made them shake our hands and all of that stuff.
Oh, yeah. They had to agree to a code of conduct.
They had to agree to.
You're not going to use this on your little sister or on your mom or your dad.
Or on anyone at school.
And, that's a whole other podcast where, I've witnessed firsthand this kind of I won't say toxic, but problematic, jujitsu at home stuff with dad, the white belt, and so we can leave that there. That suffice to say that in our school and other schools that we've trained at, that was the rule. You had to agree to, and I didn't come up with this. A friend of mine told me to do it when we were opening up our school, was that you have to make them promise. What does it mean? Well, these are the other things that jiu-jitsu will teach them. I don't think that's going to teach them self-defense. It's going to teach them the other things, responsibility. Mm-hmm. This could be the first time that a kid promises something to someone who's not his mom or dad or grandma or grandpa.
Yeah.
I'm holding you to that.
And we did. If we heard, we were in a small town. If we heard anybody was causing trouble on the playground, we always heard about it.
It would get back to us quite quickly, and we would have to address it. You promised me, excuse me, Jimmy, you promised me that you weren't going to do this. And now I hear that something happened on the playground, or I hear that something that happened in the hallway. Well, coach, yeah, this person, okay. And And we took that seriously. But that's outside of the self-defense realm. I kind of stand by it. Teenagers are different. Teenagers, I think you're getting big enough where you are a deterrent. But if
Yeah,
you're a
and
45-pound, 7-year-old, self-defense, the biggest thing that you can teach a kid in any martial arts at that age is your most powerful weapon is your voice.
yeah.
Is your voice.
Well, we would also make kids use their voice. I mean, we would make them. It was like we'd have like self-defense days where we'd grab their wrist and make them pull it away and say no really loud.
Just break it and walk away.
Break the wrist, walk away. Break the wrist.
Think anybody wants a roundhouse? Wearing BJJs?
Shout out Napoleon.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that jujitsu is great for coordination, for understanding left hand, right hand, left foot, right foot. I think it could be a good vehicle for learning kind of discipline and responsibility. But again, to your point, that's all on the coach. That's all on the school that you're going to. That's all the support staff and all that. So could it be? Yeah, maybe. But I think you'll find other benefits. Some people are seeking like a solution to a problem that maybe isn't actually the real problem. The real problem is other things, like my kid's getting bullied at school. Is it just because they sense that your child is maybe
bullyable?
Yeah, passive, quiet, won't speak up, kind of timid. Bullies hone in on that kind of thing. They don't pick on the toughest person in the school for a reason. And so can it make your kid bully proof? Yes.
Right.
Yes, it definitely can.
Right.
But let's flip it. I've heard this from a lot of parents over the years. Well, I don't want my kid to learn how to fight. I don't want them to become a bully by learning jujitsu.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, what do you say to that?
Yeah, I think that it can be a possibility. And again, it comes back to the school, it comes back to the coach, it comes back to the atmosphere. And I 150% believe that kids should do some kind of martial art, not because, and this comes back to what I was talking about at the very beginning, not because of the skills necessarily, although I still think jiu-jitsu is the best for that, but it's about that internal feeling that the kid has of being, that bully proof. And I think that
Confidence.
Exactly, it's confidence. I have some suggestions of don't just walk into a place and sign up. Just about every place has a trial for, especially for kids. Use
a
the
trial program.
A trial program. So you get
come
some
in
free
and
classes.
yeah. Thank you.
And watch those trials and the things that I think to watch for, and you might want to add to this, but so every class is going to have a set of moves that, the coaches show, and then the kids practice those moves. How is the attention span of the kids when they're being shown these move sets? Are they, and all kids goof off. I mean, there is that. So the age group does matter. But in general, you'll be able to tell, are these kids paying attention? And are these kids being respectful to the coaches that are showing them, or not? Are they all talking to each other and
they ass grabbing, doing headstands against the wall?
Exactly.
Things that you would all see. Does the coach have to keep telling them to like, hey, be quiet, hey, sit down, hey, do that?
Right.
Are there a lot of kids crying?
Right.
All things which has happened to us, in class. You go through a phase where you got a lot of kids that just cry when they get bumped.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about the culture of the gym. Are the coaches and are the older kids in that class, the kids who not necessarily older as an age, but older as in they've been there for a while?
Right.
Are they instilling that mindset, that mantra of we're here to learn, pay attention, be respectful, and all of that? Or are they instigators of, talking,
Right.
fooling around, just walking off the mat, because they need a drink of water or whatever when it's not water break time?
Right.
All of those things.
And that brings me to my second thing to be on the lookout for when your kids are doing the trial classes is, how do the kids interact with one another? So not only when they're sitting and watching the move sets, are the higher belt kids being good examples, and are they taking the younger kids under their wing and helping the new kids? Your kid being new should have somebody coming over and taking care of them, making sure that they're being assimilated into the group and all of that.
By somebody, you mean a coach or you mean an older kid?
I think, well, not all gyms have the benefit of having older kids available to do that. Somebody, either a more experienced kid in the class, or a coach.
I guess I would frame it a little differently. I would say, does it seem like the older kids, and again, I'm meaning older as in they've been there, not
Right.
necessarily that age, that they're a older age,
Right.
but are those kids empowered to do that? To, hey, my name is Alice. You're new. I can see that is this your first class? Do they do that, or do they just kind of click up, or do they just not even notice? And because you'll notice that comes from
The coaches.
it's top down. If the coaches are empowering other kids within the class to, hey, you're a leader now, like, hey, we've coached you up. Here's this stripe is because you helped this new student out. You've been a really good partner.
Yes.
And all that. Like, that is a really positive thing. Kids are empowered. Now we're talking about, again, is it going to teach them self-defense? No, but it's teaching them to be a leader, to be confident. All these things
And
make
to be
you
kind.
all these things make you bully proof.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what jujitsu does for kids. It doesn't make them being able to have self-defense against bullies. The self-defense is mentally.
Yeah.
I'm confident. I'm uh, I'm kind. I'm vocal. I use my voice. I'm empowered. I have value. All these things.
Yeah.
These things help build that aura of, you can't mess with me because of all these things.
Yeah.
But so I would say that, um,
Can I say one more?
yeah, go. You can interrupt me. I interrupt you all the time.
I also think, first of all, that was very well said, and everything that I would have wanted to say but didn't think of exactly how to say it. That is totally what I mean. And speaking of that explicitly with the coaches, how do the coaches interact with the students? And how do the coaches interact with the parents? If you're a brand new parent, you have a brand new student, do any of the coaches come and talk to you and say, hi, I'm coach so-and-so.
Here's what's going to happen in the next 45 minutes.
Right. I mean, you should, if you're in the right place, several of these things, if not all of them, should align. You should feel that your kid is taken care of. You should feel like you're respected, and that the whole team is involved in making sure that the experience is good, that people are empowered, that everybody is being kind to one another, and they're learning stuff.
Yeah, okay, but that doesn't really answer the question, is it gonna turn my kid? Worried that my kid is gonna learn how to fight, that worried that my kid is now gonna become the bully. Maybe they were bullied and now they're empowered and maybe they're gonna turn and be the bully. Okay, I will, you know, beat this dead horse that this all again depends on the coaching, the curriculum, and all that. But I will say a caveat here, and this is something that we don't talk about in jujitsu enough, and we've taken heat on this podcast for talking about it too much, is that jujitsu is inherently a selfish sport, and Americans have made it even more so. There's no team, right? You go out, you compete by yourself. When you're rolling by yourself. All of these things. You want to improve, a lot of that is on you to improve. You're not looking like, hey, you know what? I say we're on a basketball team. I can't hit long range shots. I'm going to go and rebound, whatever my skill is. I can block, but I can't catch a pass to save my life. Okay, well, we'll put you here. But you've got to, as a jiu-jitsu athlete, you have to be selfish and get all that stuff for yourself. And so it does tend to breed. We see it with what's going on in the jiu-jitsu community right now. It breeds self-obsessed people, you know? And so there is that. There could be, you know, with the right mix of poor coaching, poor discipline, misaligned values, that it could turn your kid into a bully. We see it happening at gyms, mega gyms all around the country. That, well, the black belt's a bully. He's made a whole room full of bullies. Only bullies survive here. So I better become a bully. And, you know, that trickles down into the kids program as well. And so
it for sure does, which is again why, I mean, everything that I just said on things to look for if you go for a trial for your kids, these, in my opinion, these are things to look for that breed healthy, confident kids, and healthy and confident and kind kids are not bullies. I strongly believe that if what is promoted in the gym is kindness, focus, and, you know, just general great effort, then you are not going to be breeding bullies. But I 100% agree. And, you know, we've seen it over the years, you know, situations that aren't ideal.
well, you know, you'd go to a tournament and you'd see a certain logo, a certain patch on a gi, and you're like, oh, these guys are the Cobra Kai gym.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, you
In
just
that world too.
yeah, and you know, yeah. Uh, by way of saying that, you know, I think this is a fine place to switch topics here because it perfectly segues into
It does.
what we want to talk about in the second half of the show, which is, you know, coaches who internalize, or what was the term that you used at the top of the show?
They find their own
Like value,
identity,
self-worth.
value in what their
Right,
students are
right.
doing.
Who internalize the performance of their students, not only in the training room, but also at, say, there's crosstown open mats, you know, friendlies, you know, like the tap cancer outs or the, you know,
What
any number of kind of, you know, friendly
anytime there's
tournaments
intermingling
or
other
at
groups.
actual tournaments,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, every gym. This isn't just select gyms. This is an every gym problem. Bro, our coach is very, very slow to promote, you know, because we're legit. And so this breeds you know, we're talking about kids. Here's this selfish bullying, you know, thing like, I gotta win. Maybe let's just take bullying out of it. Here's this selfish, I gotta win. I got a gold medal on Tuesday night, you know, Tuesday night,
Meaning
no,
not at a tournament,
yeah,
training with your own
Tuesday,
teammates.
Tuesday night, no gi at, 6:30.
Yeah.
And so this, to me, this promotes uh, this attitude of the coach. Again, like the coach, the head coach of all these schools has put him or herself in this position of being almost an absolute ruler. And you can rule absolutely with benevolence or malevolence or a combination of or the worst kind is of non-ruling. Oh, we all just do, this is
Yeah.
that's worse than even being malevolent to me,
Yeah.
because then you're just permissive of whatever happens.
Yeah.
And a team needs a leader. I'm not saying that the head coach should not lead. I'm saying absolutely the head coach should lead.
Needs to lead.
And sometimes,
needs to lead in.
yes, and sometimes they can go overboard in their leadership, and it's okay for us to criticize that and kind of laugh about it and behind the scenes and go, oh my God, did you hear Professor today? Oh my,
Yeah.
jeez,
Yeah.
But it's important that there is leadership, rather than non-leadership and everyone looking around going, who's going to say the thing that we all want to say?
Yeah.
But I think that, for the coaches who, it also comes from a place of goodness too. Like, I really care about my students. I want them to do well. I want them to show out for the gym. I want to hang gold medals on the wall. That's going to bring in more business for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. Bringing in business for the gym. We all want our gyms to succeed.
And we have to face it. I mean, it feels really, really good when you've got someone on your team or a group of people on your team that are just killers and that go out and get the gold medals. I mean, we had a few of them. I'm thinking of one person in particular who, I mean, was known all around the area of like, man, this guy is such a killer and like the nicest guy in the entire world. And it felt so good that he was from our gym and like, oh yeah, we coached that. We gave that guy his skills and everything. That guy is like all about jujitsu. And we helped show him some things, but that's him. That's his, like, that's him. We helped him and we supported him. And as much as I'd love to take credit for, his all of his gold medals and everything, it's like ultimately each competitor is different. We also had plenty of people who were amazing in the gym, amazing humans, just um, fun to roll with and everything that never got any gold medals.
Yeah. Well, so I'm thinking of a couple instances throughout the years, specifically about this from the student's perspective of they didn't get the results they wanted at the tournament and that they felt that the coach wanted them to get at the tournament, and they became very despondent. So now we've got a feedback loop going on. And myself as a head coach, I had experienced that. Students were disappointed in their result because they wanted to do it for me.
Yeah.
And my response was always like, no, 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 no. You did this for you. We didn't get the result that we wanted. Who cares? Who cares? We're all here, teammates are here with you. We're all cheering for you. Okay. Yeah, it sucked. You were stuck in side control for 4.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well, now we know that we need to do 3 weeks of side control escape.
Side control.
And but then there's other times that I've seen that the coaches haven't addressed that. The student feels very disappointed, very, maybe even humiliation comes into it, because I've been humiliated at tournaments. I have. I've cried after matches, all of that. And there was no like conversation. There's no two-way street. my coach expected me to do so much better. He told me the week before the tournament, man, you're going to kill it. You're going to do great. And then I get tapped in 35 seconds to a flying armbar. And man, what am I doing here? Am I learning jujitsu? This sucks. And this is where you see the struggle of the coach internalizing, the student internalizing, like, am I learning? And then maybe the coach is going like, what's wrong with me? Why didn't I teach them right? And then you get this kind of negative feedback loop. Like,
as someone who doesn't like to compete, nobody, that's not a surprise if anybody has listened to this more than 3 or 4 podcasts. I don't like to compete, and one of the reasons is I'm not a great competitor, and I freely admit that. And 100% of the time that I have lost my matches, I have absolutely felt like I've let down my coach. And sometimes it's been addressed and sometimes it hasn't.
well, because it's also that you notice, like, okay, we all went to this tournament, the whole team, the competitive people of the team went to this tournament. And then the coach would be like, yo, this person kicked butt.
Yeah.
And then, well, the rest of us, we didn't get the result
we
that
didn't
we
get the
wanted.
result that we wanted, but good job going out there.
And there's some like coded words in that.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you've practiced jujitsu for any amount of time at lineup, where that happens after a big tournament or a tournament that was important to your team or your association, like, it's a sick burn,
Yeah.
like
It's painful. I mean, it's really painful.
And so again, I feel like we're taking, this is like the Craig Jones guys, we've got a problem. We've got an alpha male problem in this sport, that we're taking this ground karate stuff way too seriously. There's no one here who's going to ADCC. There's no one here who's, competing at CJI or UFC, Jiu-Jitsu or whatever. Like, what are we doing here? Let's elevate growth, having fun, and camaraderie more than the inherent other parts of jujitsu. Jujitsu, again, it's a selfish sport, um, but there are other metrics that we can go by as coaches. We've been coaches. We've had our own team. And believe me, we got caught up in it too sometimes.
Yeah.
Like one time we won team gold medal for our kids team, and we thought that we were the shit, and then what? 2/3 of those kids quit within a year, and you're just like, man.
Yeah.
And then you show up to a tournament and you're like, you've got like 3 kids now instead of 11, and you're like, okay, well, definitely not winning gold medal. Like that's not the important thing here.
Yeah.
That's not the important thing here. It's the other things that we're doing.
Yeah.
The just being together as people, enjoying a road trip to another town to do this tournament. Everybody's got butterflies. We're trying to warm up, and all this stuff. Like, that's the meaning of this.
Yeah.
It's not standing on the podium.
Yeah.
Taking a bite out of your gold medal like you're testing its value or whatever. There's no value in those medals.
Yeah.
And if you find validation there at the podium, rather than with all these other things of later on, we all go out to dinner afterwards and we stuff our faces because we've been cutting weight for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
That's way more valuable to me.
Yeah.
As a human, outside of being a martial artist, that to me is where value is. And it took me a long time as a coach to, it's competitive. I get it. You want to beat that other team. Maybe that team has talked shit about you. I know that there's teams that, we had some pretty intense rivals with, and I wanted my guys to beat them.
Yeah.
I but that's my fault. That's my flaw. This is a sixth grader, or this is a 32-year-old accountant.
Right.
Like, why am I doing
A
this?
dad and
Yeah, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And I could feel myself in the moment of just like, all right, let's, da, da. And it's just like, yeah, you take that breath and you're like, okay, you know what? We're here. We showed up. Man, you got smothered in side control. That was, you didn't listen to me either. But,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
and I think that going back to the gym afterwards and actually promoting those things like, hey, man, this guy got caught in side control for 2 friggin' minutes and didn't give up and like kept on working. And
yeah,
that, man, we know that sucked. It looks so bad. And kudos to you
yeah,
for like just not giving up
yep.
and going. It's so important. The most meaningful moment I ever had as a coach was coaching this kid. I mean, was he 9 maybe? Who was a friggin' killer. I mean, he loved jujitsu, and his first few tournaments, he just mopped the floor with the kids. And so he got promoted, to gray belt, and then went to the next tournament. And instead of competing with white belts, he was competing with other gray belts who were a little bit bigger than him and everything. And he lost his first few matches and he was a wreck. I mean, he was a wreck. And I went over and just sat with him and talked to him like, um,
I mean,
you know,
he was going to quit
he was going to quit.
right there.
I mean, he was like, he was ready to leave the tournament. I mean, his parents were even like, he wants to go, but we told him he had to talk to you first. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go talk to him. And we sat and we probably had a 20 to 30-minute conversation
Just in between a match.
in between matches, just about winning and losing and jujitsu. And he came back, he won his next 2 matches, and then he had this heated back and forth with this one other kid where like that he lost one and then he won one. I think he ended up taking silver in he got a silver in and a gold, and I can't remember which nogi or gi, but each of them, had some losses and everything. And we came together afterwards, just like, man, what an amazing learning experience. This is so important that you learn how to lose. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it was the most amazing thing.
And that losing is supported by your coach.
Right.
Instead of, hey, we didn't get the result that we wanted.
Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
you know what? That was the result that was given. So let's work with that result.
That's the result that was meant to happen.
Yeah. And it's so like tired and, like a trope, but like you lose, you learn. And
So true.
and that is the most positive way to kind of look at this thing, like as a coach and as a competitor, that losing is just as important as winning. And until we reckon with that there's value in losing, there's value in getting shut down, there's value in being turned away, that the only thing that matters is winning, or else we didn't get what we wanted. Like, no, we got what we deserved.
Yeah.
And we we need to accept that and move on.
And celebrate it. I mean, the
I mean, the competition is hard. Going to a crosstown open mat, even or a friendly tournament, those things can be challenging. Not everybody is hyper aggressive, is win at all costs, is I need to dominate. Most of we're just regular people.
Yeah.
That resides somewhere below that on the grayscale.
Yeah.
And this is a topic for another show, is that the coaches should know that about you as well. Like the coach should know who you are
Yeah.
and set expectations based on that rather than, well, we're just really slow to promote. And if you can't, execute X, Y, and Z in a tournament or, dominate all the blue belts in the room, you're not getting your purple belt.
Yeah.
That to me sends a message of unrealistic expectation, extra anxiety. Let's remember that this is a hobby. Jiu-jitsu is a luxury.
And we're paying a lot of money to do this.
Right. IBJJF tournaments are like $125 to,
Right.
The championships are like 125,
And then you got
150.
travel and possibly hotel stays. And then of course you're paying your regular monthly dues and everything in order to.
And if you're with some gyms, you have to pay your coach to show up.
Yeah, sometimes you have to pay your coach to show up. I think,
which I agree with, by the way. I don't think that the coach should volunteer their time to go travel to a tournament, because either resentment can set in if things don't go the way that we planned, or it takes them away from their family.
We didn't get the results that we wanted.
It takes them away from their family. It takes them maybe away from their job, all of that.
And the gym. I mean,
and the gym, that's their livelihood.
Right.
And that was always our stance when we ran a gym, was that if a majority of the team signs up for a tournament, we will go with you.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's just you and this other guy or gal or these couple of kids, you guys are on your own unless you want to pay us, because we have to run this gym.
Yeah. It was just,
and it's unfair to the whole other 100 people that are at this gym, that we go for 3 people. That's not fair.
Right.
And so, I want to be really clear about that. I'm not saying that paying your coach to travel with you is a red flag or a bad thing. I think that's, but again, it's another expense, like, of a hobby,
right,
that we're all blessed to do,
right,
as much as we can do it.
So I think that the bottom line here is that although it might feel good that your coach seems to be invested in you and that really wants you to do well at your tournaments and at your crosstown open mats and all that stuff, I think that you need to be on alert how much of that coach's internal value as a coach is caught up in you. Are you being supported, or are you being judged?
That's right. And if you're being judged by your coach, you're being judged by your teammates.
Yep.
And
it feels like crap.
And I'll just say, we can end it here, is that, comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
And there's no one for you, your coach, or your teammates to compare yourself to other than you. And therefore, like, all this extraneous stuff of, well, you got tapped out in 35 seconds, you got buried in side control for 4.5 minutes. I've been in both of those places. Before. And the thing that helped me through all that is my teammates. My teammates going, whatever, that guy, whatever. Or we'll get him back for you. Something like that. All right, I got that guy next. We'll get him back for you. That's a team. Like, we're helping each other. We're uplifting each other. That this result over here was awesome. Too bad for you guys.
You should never feel like you've let someone down.
Definitely. Unless it's yourself. If you didn't train for that tournament and you got tapped out in 35 seconds, then yeah, your coach and your team has the right to be mad at you. But we're giving you the grace that you did all the work. Yeah. Which probably should have caveated the whole thing with that. But we're giving you the grace that you cut your weight, you trained really hard, you had a game plan, all of that.
Yeah.
Things happen.
Yeah.
And, that's up for your coach to do their own therapy. Because I mean,
Each student is
It
so
is.
different, and each student has a different personality, has a different set of expectations for themselves. You should try to align with the students' expectations for themselves, not what your expectations are of them.
Yeah.
I mean, you can push and support and uplift, but hey, Susan, go kick everybody's ass at this, open mat across town. Otherwise, you're gonna, second guess your belt or whatever.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. I mean, this is like, humanity, primeval humanity. Like, all right, well, this tribe has to do this, and, we're more legit than you are. At the end of the day, this is a hobby that we enjoy to the best of our abilities. And I think that we should ground ourselves there rather than in the results in the training room, at an open mat, at a friendly, at a tournament. That's, a minute of jujitsu,
Yeah.
where you've spent thousands of hours at jujitsu.
Yeah.
And yeah, uh, I think that you said it best, is that you shouldn't feel judged or compared to anybody else but yourself, and you shouldn't feel like you're letting anyone else down by taking a very real, very sometimes scary leap of doing something like that. I hate crosstown open mats. I mean, it's worse than a tournament. You know, uh, I don't like friendlies very much either, because it's not friendly.
Yeah.
I'd rather do a tournament
under
where
the guise of being friendly, where that it's not friendly. I think that, just very briefly, because we're
running over.
running over our time a little bit. I really feel like, if you feel like you're being judged, don't ignore that, because it's a red flag. That's all I'm going to say about it. Because if you feel judged at your gym, you're going to feel judged at open mats in your area. You're going to feel judged at local tournaments or whatever. And I guarantee, sometimes if you just find the right place and you don't feel judged, then all of a sudden the judgment goes away. And I mean, of like open mats and all of the other stuff too.
Yeah, well, it's psychological warfare.
It is.
So anyway, thank you all for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. Therapy is now out of session. If you want to drop a comment, our DMs are open if you want us to talk about a certain subject. But we really appreciate it, and we will see you all next time.
See ya. And remember, these are all just our opinions. And if you have varying opinions, we'd love to hear about them. Thanks, guys.
All right.
See you next time.
Bye.